I know from my videos that many of you dream of traveling with one bag only and really want to pack lighter, but you don't know where to start. And since I'm practically living out of my carry-on sized backpack since a few years, in this video I want to share everything that I wish I would have known earlier. I know I already did many videos about minimalist packing, so in this video I kind of want to bring it all together, give you the compact form. But if you want to go deeper on any of those topics, you will find a few links to other videos in the description. And trust me, it's really not that difficult to do because there is some kind of system to the madness. Because the goal is not to suffer and bring almost nothing, the goal is to basically pack exactly the things you need and use, but nothing more. And the difficult part in the beginning is to figure out what those things are. And a few years ago, when I tried to squeeze everything into a backpack for the first time, I also thought it's very challenging. But there are a few simple steps that I repeat now on every trip. So I always start off by writing myself a packing list for the trip. Then the second step is after the trip that I have a close look at my bag and if there are any things that I did not use at all or that I did not enjoy using. And then my third step is that I cross all those things off my packing list and refine it even further. And then I have this as the base for the next trip. So basically I repeat these 3 steps for every trip, and on every trip I pack less and less. But you will also need something where you can pack your things inside. When you travel hand luggage only, you can usually bring 2 items with you. You can bring a carry-on sized bag and you can bring a personal item that you're supposed to have with you on the seat and put underneath the seat in front of you. I am personally not a big fan of one bag travel because I want to have my valuables on me at all times. I always get very anxious when I see where they have the slots for the passports on those one bag travel bag, because honestly I would never put anything of value in one of those positions. And I would never want to have everything in one bag because it happens regularly that you get separated from your bag, and then I want to be able to carry all my valuables with me. So for example, sometimes the plane is too full and they force you to check your backpack for free, or you are going with a taxi once you arrive and they just throw your bag into the trunk. And sometimes when you take a bus, you need to put your bag in the compartment underneath the bus, and then where are you going to put all your valuables? And here is the setup that works for me. And I personally travel with a 30-liter backpack at the moment, but honestly, just check with the airline if they have any weight and size requirements, and then see what you have at home. But if I can give you one tip, get a backpack that's as lightweight as possible, because more often than not you only have a few kilos of allowance, and if you can only bring 7 kilos, you don't want a backpack that already weighs 4 kilos, because that limits what you can pack a lot. And one thing I noticed that many people think is that you need a tiny bag. Honestly, in most airlines you can bring a bag that's usually up to 40 liters, and when you compare it to my suitcase that I used way in the past to travel, this also had 65 liters. So 40 liters, 65 liters, it's not that much difference. Then I use a separate bag to carry all my valuables. And at the moment I personally use the Bellroy light sling, which I enjoy using very much because I can wear it together with my backpack and it's very comfortable. But I actually bring a third bag that I use as my personal item. And at the moment I like to use this packable tote bag from Peak Design because it packs very small and it has a zipper on top. And usually when I'm at the gate, I repack everything that I want on the airplane with me into this bag. So I add, I don't know, my sleeping stuff, some medicine I need, my entertainment, my travel pillow. I also put my Bellroy sling in there and I zip it up and I have it all with me at the airplane seat. But I also use it regularly during my trip then, for example, when I want to go buy groceries or when I need something to carry my things to the beach. So now let's go and figure out our packing list. So the first thing for your packing list would be your non-negotiables. And honestly, they may be less than you think. For me personally, it's only my passport, my wallet and my glasses. And just in case I need some prescription medicine, that as well. These things would really be difficult to replace when traveling and be quite a hassle when I would lose them. But honestly, everything else I can probably buy during the trip, or at least my trip would not be ruined if I did not have them. And then the next step is to consider a few things about your trip. For example, I always research how the weather will be at my destination and also what kinds of activities I have planned. If I want to be more active and go hiking, if I go to the beach every day, if I'm going to a formal event, or if I need to dress up. All those things I keep in the back of my mind for the next few steps. One of the most fun categories to figure out, in my opinion, is clothes. And now, since I already know a little bit about my trip, I know more or less what things I need to pack, and I create a capsule wardrobe with that. And if you have never created a capsule wardrobe for yourself before, I can totally recommend the Project 333. It's also a book, and basically you decide to create a capsule wardrobe of 33 items that you wear for 3 months straight. I personally always create a capsule wardrobe that lasts me for roughly 4 days, plus something for sleeping, plus something for activities like hiking. I always try to stick to items that are multi-purpose. For example, I have hiking shorts that look like normal shorts, so I can wear them in the restaurant, but also for hiking. I always make sure that it's easy to layer the things. So instead of bringing one thick sweater, I would probably just layer a t-shirt, a long sleeve, and a thinner sweater on top of each other, because I can use the 3 separately, but also all together. And I also try to find things where everything matches with everything else. And one thing that I noticed is that I started shopping differently once I started traveling like this, because you start to look for things that are suitable. For example, when you need a nice shirt, you don't take the one where you can already see the wrinkles in the store. There's nicer fabrics that don't wrinkle, that quick dry, and that's the ones you're gonna get. And you're gonna be all happy in the store thinking, yay, this is perfect for my next trip. So in my opinion, it's a lot of fun to put together this condensed capsule wardrobe. Because when you think about your last trip, I am sure there are things you brought home that you never even wore, and there were things that you wished that they were clean again so you could wear them again. Pack only the things you love wearing and rewear them all the time. The only difference is that you have to do laundry every once in a while, which is very easy to do, and I already did a separate video about my best tricks how I do laundry while traveling. So one last thing I wanted to mention is consider the things you're gonna wear on the way to the airport or also on travel days. Because I always, for example, had the problem when I started in Austria, it was the deepest winter, and a few hours later I was in the hot summer in Brazil. And every jacket that I would have brought, it would have been dead weight for months for me to carry around. So what I usually did was to layer everything I had on top of each other. It did not look very pretty, but it got the job done until I was at the airport. Or another option would be to leave the jacket at the airport. For example, our airport in Munich offers that service for €1 a day, so it would be better to pay this euro instead of hauling a huge winter jacket through Brazil. So now let's move on to one of my favorite topics, which would be toiletries. And this is a little bit more challenging with one bag travel because you have to stick to the TSA rules and you are limited in terms of liquids. But nowadays I feel like it's not that much of a challenge anymore because you can buy solid versions of almost every product. And I recently did a video where I basically traveled with solid toiletries only. And it was actually doable, but it was not the most comfortable trip I've ever been to. So I personally like to travel with at least a few fluids, and they easily fit into a 1-liter clear bag. Since I travel a lot and those Ziploc bags always break on me, nowadays I travel with a more solid, clear bag that I keep inside of my toiletry kit. But I really think that this category is the easiest to overthink. But honestly, you can buy almost anything everywhere you go in this world. For example, it would be impossible for me to bring enough sunscreen to last a few months in Brazil. So what I do is to bring a small bottle that lasts me for a day or two, and then I just restock once I'm there. Or another option is that I buy things on the duty-free store on the way there, but then just make sure that you don't have to go through security anymore afterwards, for example, when you have to go on a connection flight. And honestly, once you're on the go, it's very easy to restock. And one thing that, for example, Everson and me did for a long time was that both of us carried a 100 milliliter refillable bottle for shampoo. And every time we bought one, it has 200 milliliters. So we split it up between the two of us and we were refilled. Another category that can be quite challenging is tech gear. And my tip is to really bring what you're really gonna need. I sometimes travel for weeks at a time, and then obviously I have no choice other than bringing most of my gear. But if I just travel for a few days, sometimes just bringing my phone plus my small portable keyboard is enough to just answer the most important emails. It's not the most comfortable thing to do probably, but it's still way easier than having to carry around a massive laptop. Another tip that I always like to give others is that you slowly start to buy things that use the same plug, so you can reduce the amount of cables you need to bring. And honestly, instead of bulky chargers and lots of cables, just opt for a smaller, stronger charger and use a multi-cable or just adapters. This usually helps you save a lot of space in your bag. So the next category are comfort items. And honestly, as long as you have space for them and you actually really use them, I have nothing against them. Because these are the things that make traveling more enjoyable. For example, my husband goes nowhere without his spork. Could he do without? Probably, but it's very handy in many situations. We also have a small speaker, because sometimes it's just nice to have some background noise in a hotel room. I also travel with a flashlight that I use every night in the hotel room, or also when we go for a walk on the beach at night. And I also travel with my small bottle openers for wine and beer, because sometimes you just need them. And bringing those things does not make me a bad minimalist traveler, because I really use them all the time. But that is the opposite of the next category, which are the just-in-case items. And honestly, leave them at home. And I know that in the beginning you will not believe me and pack them anyways, but then just promise me this. When you're on your next trip, start looking for places where you could buy those things. And you will see that suddenly you can buy shampoo in every corner, and there's also pharmacies every 2 meters. And usually this is the category where you start to leave more and more things at home every time you refine your packing list. Now I quickly wanted to share a few more of my favorite tips and tricks with you. And the first one would be that you should organize your travel bag by use case and not by category. So for example, I do not use all my toiletries in the bathroom. I keep a hand cream and a nose spray in the pouch next to the bed, and I have my hand sanitizer in my purse. So I personally really find it much more useful that I have the things actually there where I need them. The next tip is that you should be prepared to repack a little bit when you hop on an airplane. A good example are the toiletries I just mentioned. Because when I fly, I need to collect them into the clear bag and have them all together at the airport. And nowadays I know it by heart where I have what, but in the beginning it may be a good idea that you write yourself a little checklist of where you have the toiletries. And then I also like to pack in a way that the things I need at the airport are easily accessible, but I already did a separate video about that as well, which I will link below. Another thing I really recommend you from the bottom of my heart is that you test the things before you leave. Grab your travel bag and pack all the things you would want to bring, and then try to live exclusively with those things for a few days or weeks. Really try to use only the toiletries that you're gonna bring, or the clothes if the weather permits, and see if you like them or if you run into any problems. Because your trip will not be very pleasurable when you figure out that 2 of the 4 t-shirts you packed don't properly fit anymore, or that the shampoo bar gives you an itchy scalp all day long. So really test it and just live with those things for a few days, and then, if necessary, adjust your packing list. Another tip is to look for items that you can share. For example, if you travel with your husband, there are many things you probably can share and only need to bring one of, for example, some gear or toothpaste. Another thing I already kind of mentioned but really want to highlight again is that longer trips does not mean that I need to bring more things. So I bring the same amount of clothes if I travel for 4 days or if I travel for 4 months. The only difference is that I need to do laundry more often. And all those things that I use up, like female hygiene products, I just restock as I go. And my last tip is to really make use of the things you already have. Because I know from personal experience that it's very easy to spend a lot of money on backpacks and packing cubes and other fancy travel gadgets. But in the beginning, you don't really need those things yet. And yes, your setup may not be 100% perfect, and it may not be as comfortable as it could be, but until you are sure that this way of packing and this lifestyle is for you, in my opinion, just try to use the things you already have at home. And if at some point you decide this is really what you want to be doing, then it's time to invest in gear. So these are my best tips and tricks and everything that I wish I knew. And honestly, the more often you do it, the easier you get. I know in the beginning I was struggling to fit everything into a 42-liter backpack, and at the moment I can travel easily with a 30-liter backpack. So this is an evolution, and you just need to practice. And as long as you evaluate after every trip and leave things at home that did not work and don't pack them for the next trip, your bag will get lighter and lighter. So if you have any travel tips for me, please just leave them in the comments. I always love hearing them. And other than that, thanks for watching and I see you in the next video. Bye!